I played Ron Burnett in the first round. Now we're going to have a long discussion. You'll never be so bored. Yeah. Okay, so here's what happened. The Georgia Class Championship was in sections, obviously, classes. And the top section was the master section. And the second section was for $2,000 to $21.99, the expert or candidate master section. Okay. Now, you could play in different schedules. You could play Friday night or Saturday morning. Okay. And then round 2, they would merge. So round 2, everybody plays the same. But if you wanted to play round 1 Friday night, you could. If you want to play Saturday morning, you could. Well, I decided about 8:30 in the morning, I'll play in the tournament. And Karen and Archer already left. So I just went separately and surprised them and played in the tournament. Now, some of the sections didn't have a lot of the people. And by some of them, I mean all of them. And the master section had the least. Now, Friday night, one person entered the master section. So he got a bye. Now, you could have said, well, you can't have a tournament with one person, so just merge the experts and masters. Well, they didn't know how many people would show up Saturday morning, so there could be a master section. Okay, so that guy got a bye. That guy's rating is 2365, and I play him in round 3. Now, in Saturday morning, the people who showed up were me and Ron Burnett. Ron Burnett's an international master from Tennessee. Would have been funny if I didn't play. Then Ron Burnett would. Anyway, so David Hayter was the director, and he had to make a decision. There were 3 possible decisions. The third one I'd never thought of. I never would think of it. And that was the one recommended by Bill Goichberg, because he called Goichberg and asked what to do. And Goichberg recommended, but Goichberg's recommendation is bad. And they're all bad. But I think of the 3 bad things, that's the worst. So we could have in round 1 just said, well, there's 3 of us. There's me, Burnett, and the guy last night. The guy last night's not playing. He's playing round 2. He's already got a bye for round 1. So let's just merge, and then the guy from last night will merge in with the experts and masters. And then Hayter said, no, what we're going to do is you're going to play Burnett. You're the only 2 people in the masters. Then for round 2, we'll merge the 2 sections. And I was like, all right. Goichberg's suggestion was to not merge and just have the 3 of us play a 5-round tournament. And I said, so we would get repaired, which doesn't matter. However, what does matter, if you have a 5-round tournament with 3 players, you're getting 2 buys. So you're going to play 3 games and you're not going to play 2 games. And I'm like, you can't have a 5-round tournament and force people to get 2 buys and play 3 games. And he was like, yeah, that's dumb. Now, everything's dumb, but, okay. So what we ended up doing was the guy from the night before got a bye, full point bye. Then me and Burnett played. And then in round 2, we all played together, the experts and masters. And the master prizes were only for me, Burnett, and the other guy. And there were 3 of them, so we're all getting a prize. The expert prizes were only for the experts, and there were, I think, 8 of them. So there were like 11 in our section. So that's what ended up happening. So I played Ron Burnett in round 1, even though we were number 1 and 2. Then in round 3, I played the other guy who got the full point bye, who was number 2, and then I played a bunch of experts. So that's what happened. The other sections didn't have these quirks, but yeah, okay. Now I'm going to tell you a funny story before by the way, I'm not insulting you. I'm just telling the truth. It's an insult, but it's the truth. It just turns out it's insulting, but I'm not trying to insult you. I just want you to understand what's going on. Half the people in the chat have no idea what I just said. So if half the people in the chat now wrote what just happened in that tournament, it would not be what happened. It's complicated. Yeah, they're like, I don't know, he played some tournament and everybody got they don't know. They heard me just say nonsense. Yeah, they don't know. Yeah, right. You weren't listening, and if you were listening, you're like, what the hell is that guy talking about? Thanks for the sub. Yeah, even if you were listening, it's such a strange it's a strange thing, so it's hard to understand. Yeah. It's happening now, but I have to tell you another story. In Chicago, I went to a tournament once. On Friday, same format. Friday night, everybody was bad. So it was like an expert master section, and everybody was under 2,300 Friday night. And there were like a normal number of people, like 10. Saturday morning, there were 9 grandmasters and a 2,300. And the schedules merged in round 3. So in rounds 1 and 2, the Friday night guys are all Rufus and Doofus. And in round 1 and round 2, it's all GM pairings. And as an aside, the guy who was number 10 Saturday morning, the 2,300, he would have been the highest rated Friday night. And he was the lowest rated Saturday morning. So what happened is grandmasters are playing grandmasters in rounds 1 and 2. Then in round 3, there's guys who played in the Friday night who are, 2,100, 2,200, and they got 2 out of 2. So the pairings, nothing made any sense. Yeah. So there you go. All right. So sometimes when you have different schedules and there's a low turnout, you get some suspicious activity. Okay. So for those of you who are late, if you look at the title of the stream, at the end it says Georgia Class Champs Games. I played in the Georgia Class Championship, which was this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I won my section. Karen got 4 out of 5 in the Class D, and she won $150 and gained 25 rating points. Archer got 4 out of 5 in the Class C section. He tied for first, and he won $225. It's funny. Archer's the Class C section, and Karen had 2 C sections. Thanks for the donation, 300 centidues. Thanks, Jimbo. Okay. By the way, about a third of you didn't get that Karen had 2 C sections. About a third of you. Yeah, especially the kids. They're like, what? What'd she do? Okay. A class is defined by USCF as Class A, Class B, Class C. It's a rating thing. So Class A is 1,800 to 1,999. Class B is 1,600 to 1,799, etc. It's 200 points each. That's the way USCF does it. Okay. Yeah. Now, in round 1, I played Ron Burnett. We're the 2 highest rated players, and I was white. Now, in round 1, it was game 90 with a 10-second delay. The rest of the tournament was game 120 with a 10-second delay. Unless you played Friday night, which I did not, then it was also game 120. The morning around Saturday, if you decided to play them, was quicker because you got to get to round 2. Okay. I just gave a really long explanation as to why we played, but it's actually a very short answer at this point. We're the only 2 people in the master section at this point, so we got paired. In round 2, they merged the expert and master section. They combined it, then we all played each other, but played for separate prizes. But in round 1, they didn't merge yet. They just had the 2 masters play each other, which I wouldn't have done. I would have merged it in round 1, but they didn't because they didn't merge the first guy in round 1. So why? Yeah. No, what I'm talking about is weird. It's very rare. The reason some of you don't understand what I'm talking about, other than your own issues, is I don't want to say it's rare because in the U.S. it's not rare, but it's a little rare. In the rest of the world, it's probably never happened. In the United States, in USCF-rated tournaments, sometimes you have different schedules depending on, your lifestyle. So for the World Open, for example, if you're playing in the lower sections, you can play a 3-day schedule, you can play a 4-day schedule, you can play a 5-day schedule. In Europe, you don't do this. And then at some point, everybody's playing the same schedule, like round 4 or 5. US Open does this too. And when I was a kid, that didn't exist. That's only existed in the US for about 30 years. And that's only if you have a tournament that's many days. If you have a tournament that's one day, that doesn't make any sense. But if you have a 2 or 3 or 4 day tournament, you could do it. And normally, the less days you play, the quicker the time control is for the first couple of rounds, because you got to get those rounds in. Now, as an aside, and then I'll get to the game, played the Michigan Open one year. I mean, I've played many years, but this was 1 year in Kalamazoo. And you could play 4-day, 3-day, or 2-day schedule. So I played the 2-day schedule so that I wouldn't stay in a hotel. I could drive and go back. And not that bad. It's 100 miles from where I live. And I played 5 games in one day on Sunday. And then Monday I played 2. It was a Labor Day weekend. And instead, I played 4 games on Sunday. Then I took a bye in round 5, a half-point bye. And then I just drove home and got home at like 6 o'clock in the evening. Then I went back in the morning and played 2 games. And I won every game. So I got 6.5 out of 7, and I won the tournament. But when you play a 2-day schedule in a tournament that has 4 days, your first few games are really fast. We were playing like game 30. Other people were playing like 2-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour games. We were playing games that lasted less than an hour. So. All right, anyway, back to the game. I'm white against Ron Burnett. And I played a Queen C2 Nimzo. If you were here earlier and remember, I had a Queen C2 Nimzo in all of my games. I had white 3 times. I had 3 Queen C2 Nimzos. What's the most time you've been OTB? Pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, pretty sure when I played Grandmaster Gowry, he's an FM, but that's his moniker, about 12 years ago, in Chicago in a round robin, it was the last round. I think I was asleep. There's actually a picture on the internet you can find of me playing him where I'm like this. I might have been asleep. Maybe. I might have been asleep. It's possible. I won the game. It was a long game, too. Let's see. What's this game? Doesn't look like any game I've ever played. That looks way too high level. Mm-hmm. All right. Don't recognize that game. All right. Anyway, this is my game with Ron Burnett. Now, I actually don't remember. Can somebody look it up for me so I don't have to do it? I can look it up if you don't want to. Find the game. I only played him once in a rated game, so it's easy to find. Find the game on the internet right now, somebody. Finegold Smyslov, Lloyds Bank 1988. Because this game, like I moved 13 or 14 was the same game. But he didn't know Burnett, but I knew. And I was like, what did I do? Now, in this position, knight f3 is the most common move. Then they play queen f5. And I've had that position. And I've taken the queen and played queen b3. However, a friend of mine many years ago said he plays e3 to avoid the queen f5 line. Because you play bishop d3 then. So that's what I did. And this is also the first game from the World Trade Center between Kasparov and Anand, which was a draw in 1995. They got this position also. And since my game was played first, my game was played in 88, when the game was analyzed in every magazine and newspaper, the game that went the furthest with the Kasparov-Anand game was my game with Smyslov. So it kept getting quoted. And I was like a FIDE master at the time. Yeah. Okay, somebody's putting the game there, I assume. Although yeah. Right, okay. So you see the game output coupler did. That's my game with Smyslov. This is an IM Ron Burnett. He's 2400 USCF. FIDE, he's probably 2350. I don't know. Ron Burnett, he's an IM from. Right. And then the game that you just posted, this is my game with Burnett. And I'm just wondering when we deviated. So E5, this is my game with Burnett and with Smyslov. Bishop E2. Now I played Smyslov 31 years ago, but I remember that was the game. I just didn't know like when he deviated. And it looks like we never deviated. Okay. And in this position, I played Queen B3 against Smyslov, And the engine doesn't like queen b3. I'm actually confused because after the game ended, I went to my phone and I went to the Chess24 app on my phone and used the Chess24 phone engine. I'm not sure that's better than you guys. And it said play h3, and that's what this thing says, the chess.com engine. And then both engines say he takes. I mean, I just thought he would go here, bishop h5, and attack my queen. So I don't know. Anyway, the engine doesn't like my move, and I played this same move because I thought that's what I did against Smyslov. And against Smyslov, I got a really tiny advantage, and he offered me a draw. So I said, okay, I was an FM, and he's world champion. So anyway, queen b3. The game that you pasted, Output Coupler, this is also my game with Burnett. Okay. Yeah, okay. And I thought this was my Smyslov game. I wasn't sure if it was exactly, but I thought it was, and it is. And Ron Burnett played knight at d5, which is the engine's first move on chess.com. And the engine's second move, this is Stockfish 10 at depth 21. Depth 21 is a little iffy. Is Rook fe8. That's the move Smyslov played according to your paste. Yeah, and then we drew a few moves later, and the engine says it's about equal. Yeah. Now, what's funny is I also played Smyslov, and I'm sure he didn't know this. I don't think he ever knew this. I played him in 1984 in Moscow. He gave a simul I was at a chess seminar, and he was completely beating me. He's outplaying me positionally. It was horrible. And then he sacked the exchange for nothing. Like, he must have thought I was streaming. He went wham, and then it was like for nothing. So I won. I don't know why he sacked the exchange. If he didn't, he's just crushing me. His exchange sack didn't make any sense. There was no follow-up. I don't know. So I won. 1,000 centidues. Thank you, Nicola. And thanks for the cheers, the rewards. And then I drew him in 88 in real life. And then in January of 89, he was playing in Hastings, and I married my first wife during the tournament, and he came to the wedding. But I wonder if Smyslov knows, I mean, he's dead now, but I wonder if he ever knew that I was the same guy that beat him in the Simul in 84, drew him in 88. Now, I drew him in August of 88, and he was at my wedding in January of 89. I wonder if he remembers playing me like 6 months earlier, because I'm not very memorable in that, so, yeah. No, I don't have the Simul game. No, absolutely not. Okay. I was black and a French. Okay. So Smyslov played this against me 31 years ago, according to Output Coupler, who looked up the game. And then I played bishop b5 and he played knight d7. Okay. The game was, yeah. Rook fe8, it's fine. In fact, the engine says bishop b5 and it says white's a little bit better. Burnett played knight d5. Now, I've only looked at my games either with no engine or the Chess24 thing on my phone afterwards. So I don't know. Also, I don't trust this engine either. I trust my engine on my laptop, but I'm not turning that on. Okay. All right, so he played knight d5. I played rook a4, which the phone didn't like. This engine and that engine said the same thing. It says bishop c4. White's slightly better. I played rook a4. Now it says it's completely equal. See, I'm attacking his rook, bishop. Okay, and he took on c3, which is fine. Bishop d7, the engine prefers black, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's equal. It should be a draw. Okay, I took. He played bishop e6, which makes sense. And I played b4. Oh, I want to point out, in this position, Ron Burnett offered me a draw after bishop g4. By the way, it's a FIDE rule for years, for many years, at least 10, maybe 20. When your opponent offers you a draw in a FIDE-rated event, you're required to note that on your notation, and most people don't. I always did anyway. I always wrote, now, most grandmasters write the equal sign. That means their opponent offered them a draw. I write DO for draw offer because I'm stupid American. He offered me a draw here. Okay, so b4. Never play f6. Engine says f6. And this is just an equal position. Nobody's better here. But I'm an old man. It's an endgame. On the other hand, I think Burnett's older than me. Damn. Burnett likes to play really strange positions that I don't understand, and maybe he doesn't, maybe he does. I like really boring positions. Ron Burnett doesn't like, he likes when there's confusion. He loves that. So he's good at confusion and I'm not. So that's advantage me because this is really boring. Okay, I played knight d2, which is the engine move. It says everything's equal. It says no matter what I do, no matter what he does, it's equal. Now, for reference, I had a very similar position against Jennifer Shahade in the U.S. Championship in Seattle. I'm going to say 2002, but it's a total guess. I'm within 3 years. It's definitely 2001 to 2005. I think it was 2002, but if it's not 2002, 2003 is my next guess. You can find that on the internet too. Now, the opening had nothing to do with this, but the end game is very similar. Like this position here, similar to my Jen Shahade game, similar. Pawn structure and boring and equal. And I won that game too. That got to a rook and pawn ending where she didn't play very well. And it was the last round too. That cost her many thousands of dollars, that game. Okay. Anyway, if you don't like the ads, and I agree, then you should subscribe to my channel. I'm giving you like tons and tons of free content. So if you give me $5 a month, well, I don't get the $5. Amazon takes it all, but you know, you're sort of paying for the stream then. Yeah. So my ex-wife was British. No. I've been married twice before Karen, and they're both American. But I was living in Belgium, which, how do you not know this? Yeah. Now, in 1980, God, is it 1982 or 1983? I'm so embarrassed if I'm wrong. I'm going to say 82, but it could be 83. Let's find out. Hey, Siri, 82. That's my guess. Hey, Siri, when was On Golden Pond the movie? On Golden Pond the movie. 81? Oh, I thought it was 82 or 83. How embarrassing for me. Okay, in the movie On Golden Pond, with Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda, Dabney Coleman, and Katharine Hepburn, not in that order. The correct order would be Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda, Dabney Coleman. Although Jane Fonda and Dabney Coleman, I don't know. Dabney Coleman's a good actor. Anyway, at some point during the movie, they leave their son there, and then they come back, and they say they got married in Belgium. Well, if you're American in the 80s, you did not get married in Belgium. If you wanted to get married in Belgium, you had to be a citizen of the EU. Anyway, I was living in Belgium in 88, and we couldn't get married in Belgium, but you could in England if you were there long enough. So you play a tournament and get married. Yeah. Yeah, I 82, yeah. Anyway, yeah, sorry I was so off. I was a month off. Damn. Okay. So I got married in England because I was living in Belgium when you couldn't get married in Belgium. Now, it turns out there was a guy in Belgium who was like a chess patron like Rex. Not rich like Rex, but, you know, rich. And he was, not Bessel Koch, that's another rich guy. I don't know this guy's, I don't remember the guy's name. He actually was like the head of like marriages in Belgium. So he said, oh, I could have married you guys, but I didn't know that. Also, I don't know if he's breaking the law because he's in charge. Anyway, whatever. Okay, 100 sentences. Okay, so he played, you know, it's Ron Burnett. He likes to spice it up. So every move is equal. He played A5. That's the spiciest. Okay, I played, the engine says either move is equal, but I'm not playing, I'm not taking. And now he surprised me, and of course, the engine doesn't care. The engine says every legal move is equal. Knight here, knight here, knight here. Okay, I only thought he would play one move, and when the game ended, I told him, I only said one thing about this game. I said, this move surprised me. I expected this other move, and he thought like I was an idiot. He's like, no, like horrible. Now the engine says all the moves are equal. Anyway, he surprised me. He played knight b8. I mean, he wants his knight on c5, so it was very understandable. I just didn't look at knight b8. I looked at knight e7, and then go to d5 later. He wants to go to c5, and then if he can make 2 moves in a row, he has a big advantage because knight's pretty good on c5. Okay. I played the only good engine move, bishop c4, and I didn't know if he should take or play king f7, but I suspected king f7 was better, and the engine agrees. This is his first mistake of the game. He took on c4, never trade. King f7's all zeros according to the engine. Then I take, he takes with the king, and okay, draw. But he took this way. And actually, when I played bishop c4, I intended to take with the rook, and then I kept changing my mind. I took with the knight. And the engine says taking with the rook is all zeros. It says that's a stupid move. It says b6 equal. Then it gives a funny variation, the cheating variation where you repeat. I'll show you because it's funny. This is the engine line. Okay, draw. Okay, I took with the knight, so I played correctly. Okay. And he played knight d7, if I remember. Yeah. Again, this is I'm white against Ron Burnett, round 1, Georgia Class Championship. And I played the best engine move, king e2. The second best engine move is f3. I don't do that. Okay, and now he made a mistake. So bishop takes c4 was a mistake. The engine says I'm better here. Now he made mistake number 2. Obviously, these pawns are all potentially weak, but my king is, protecting some d file and his king's doing nothing. So it's better for white. The engine says after knight c5, I'm plus 0.6. King f7, I'm plus 0.7. He played a move I didn't look at all. He played rook a c8. I didn't look at that for a second. And the engine doesn't like that move. So that just loses a pawn, so I'm up a pawn. So I took, and the engine, yeah, he took. That's right, I took. All right, so I'm up a pawn. But it's not easy to win because his rook is so active and my king is a little iffy. I'm not even sure if it's winning, but it's pawn up. And now we both probably had about 5 minutes left. It was game of 90, and I'm pretty slow. So he played rook b8. The engine doesn't play rook b8. It says f5 is the best, and rook d2 is the second best. But rook b8's like a human kind of move. I played the only good move. Now the engine says I'm doing well. Knight c5 is best. And now my phone did not like my move, which, if I remember 2 days ago. Let's see this real engine. The real engine says rook a7 is plus 2.12. I didn't want to allow counterplay because I'm an old man. Knight d3 is the counterplay. Then he's attacking f2 and, counterplay. I don't want to play rook f1 because that's incredibly passive. I want my rook to go to b1 and make a queen. So I stopped knight d3. The engine says my move is the third best. It says this is plus 2.12. Rook a1 is plus 1.5. And I played rook a3 because I stopped knight d3. The engine is not happy about that. And the reason is my rook here is aggressive, so I can play knight f5. And the rook here defends this rook. So there's no tactical tricks where I get my rooks forked or they're not protected. So in this position, he should play rook d8. And again, that's a difficult human move because he just played rook b8. So you don't want to play rook d8. You want to, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the idea is if I play rook d1, my knight's pinned. But if I played rook a1 the previous move, then my rooks, are connected. So that's safer. So rook a3 doesn't like, and the engine says after rook d8, I'm better, but probably a draw. It actually wants me to play knight e4. I don't think I was playing knight e4. I think I was going to play rook d1. Okay. Anyway, the engine says after rook d8, good drawing chances. Now we're in time trouble, and then rook d8's hard to find anyway. He played h5, which made a lot of sense to me. Thank you for the Prestige A for the subscription. Yeah. And the opening obviously is different, but the end game is similar. The extra pawn and the pawn structure earlier. Yeah. Okay, so now his king has here. He could attack my king, and he stops g4, and I got to make a move. Okay, so I played rook d1. The engine says rook d1, rook b1, rook a1 are all about the same. Okay, rook d1, and he played rook d8. That's okay. And this is funny. I played the best move here, and I don't stand on ceremony, right? I mean, if I play the best move, I don't care what already happened. I know that I make a lot of mistakes, so I don't say like, well, I just played this. I'm not going to, like, I just like, yeah, I'm no good. So I played rook a1, which is what the engine wanted me to do earlier in case of rook d8, my rook on d1 is defended. Rook a1 is actually the best move. Always retreat. But this way my knight's on d6 isn't pinned. It's my rook's protected on d1. Okay, and he played g5, which is very, very, very risky, dangerous decision. The engine doesn't like it. Now, he's trying to get some counterplay, but in the long run, his king has no safety. So if I get my rooks down there, I mean, the king is naked. And that's what ended up happening. So the engine does not like g5. But, you know, he likes to cause problems and time trouble. I could play g3, g4, h3. I didn't know. I played g3 so my king could escape. The engine much prefers h3. Okay. Still, I'm like plus 1 point something. Now it wants him to play g4 check and then rook b2. He played rook b2 first. So it's fine. Okay. And I play king g2 because I'm avoiding all kinds of checks. That move is fine. And he played king f8, which the engine does not like. Not at all. And I think he was trying to avoid a scenario. I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask him. But if I play rook a7 and then knight e4, I'm attacking his rook. And then I could take this, although I can't play rook a7 because my rook's hanging. And I can't play knight e4 takes f6 because king f7. So yeah, king f8 doesn't make a lot of sense. That move, I'm not sure what he was thinking. The engine really hates that move. But I'm just trying to think from his point of view why he played king f8. Yeah, king f8 is a bad move. Okay, and I played the correct move, rook a c1. Now I'm plus 3, it says. Okay, good. He played knight b3. I played rook c7. Now I'm plus 4. Okay. He played king g8 because his king's on the wrong square. Yeah, now my score is getting sort of sloppy because I didn't have a lot of time on my clock. There's a 10-second delay. So the correct move, according to the engine, is, which I didn't see, is knight c4. That way all of our rooks are hanging, but I got that guy. So that's a good guy. See, this guy is the one stopping my pawn. But if I go here and he takes my rook and I take his rook, then it's not so easy stopping my pawn. Not so easy. I got b6. Knight c4 defends my pawn. Yeah. See, now if his pawn was on g7, he could play king h7. But when he moved all his pawns here, if my pawn gets to b7, I'm going to play rook c8 check and queen. But if his pawn was on g7, he'd play king h7 before I checked him. You see what I'm saying? So his king is not good. This is plus 5. So if I played knight c4, I would have won the game much easier than I did. I didn't see knight c4. Okay, I played b6. And when I played b6, I knew I was losing my b pawn, but it made the game easy to play for me. I didn't even know if it was winning. I just knew that I would never lose and I would win or draw. And the reason is I get to double up on the bubble up. He played here, which is forced, and I should still play knight c4, which I did not see. I didn't see knight c4. And I played rook d5. And when I played b6, this was my intention. I'm throwing away most of my advantage, but I'm making it real easy for myself to either win or draw. And this everything that I thought would happen happened. Yeah. So when I played b6, I saw this position. And I was like, man, I don't want to have black here because my rooks are, I have a king and he doesn't. Now, this reminded me now and later in the game of the famous game Alekhine beat Yates, where he sacrificed a piece Alekhine and his king walked up in this pawn structure, this kind of pawn structure, and he won the endgame by mating him, basically. And Spencer lectured on that game a couple months ago. I'm sure you all know that game. Yeah. Not Bill Gates. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, the engine was like I'm +4, I'm +5, and now I'm like +1.8. Now, when you're better / winning / probably winning, and you have an engine, the better your engine, the more it says you're winning in these kinds of positions. So this engine's pretty good. And I think if I have CES with the 35 core and all that nonsense, I think it's going to say a higher number. Yeah. Because it goes longer and longer and it's like, yeah, this says 1.76. So I think it's going to say +3 on CES if I had to guess. Okay. Now he's obviously going to lose his pawns. He wants to trade them instead of losing them. He played H4, which is correct. Okay, and I checked, and he got out of check. Now, my score is hard to read here, and it's hard to reconstruct. Okay, and now I got some white squares over here, so I played King F3 because I want to just mate him and take all his pawns. And again, if you're an engine, you could play perfectly here, but he's not an engine, and we have no time on our clock. So this don't look like fun for black. That looks like no fun. He's going to lose a pawn, and my king's walking in. I didn't want to take on h4. I wanted my pawn structure compact. I didn't want to have an isolated h-pawn. I wanted just my pawns together and walk my king up. Okay, he took on g3, which is fine. I took this way. Taking with the f-pawn I thought might be better to get a passed pawn, but in time trouble, I'm just going to keep it simple. Soulcom subscribe, thank you. Okay, now, if you're under 18, look away. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a story. In the World Open, I'm going to say 25 years ago, it's about 25 years ago, I was walking around and there was a game between two GMs. Although actually I think Boris Men's and I am, but he's GM strength. I think he was playing Gennady Zaitchik. I might have made that name up. Anyway, it was a double rook ending with either 6 or 7 pawns each. And one of the guys had tripled pawns. So his game was no good. I don't know if it was lost, but maybe. And he resigned. And I said to some GM, I said, why'd that guy resign? He looked at me and said, too much talent. So his understanding was so good, he's like, okay, this is lost. A thing that I would never consider resigning. Okay. Now, this next move is going to scare some of you because the guy's an IM. And you're like, what kind of move is that? And again, it's too much talent. Ron realizes if I get in here, I'm going to win. So you can't let me get in there. Now, I thought he would play rook d2. So if I go here, he takes a pawn. Then we have to calculate whether I'm mating him or not. Like the ramifications of each move. All right. And the engine does play rook d2 and says I'm up 2.15. That's right. Honky Blood and Bonorisi, too much talent. He played f5. God damn. At least I knew I was winning now. Before I wasn't sure. And here I had good technique. I didn't take the pawn right away. So I checked. King g8. I'm in the wrong place, actually. But I did do that. And then I played here. And then I checked here because I want to take this pawn, not this pawn. But he wouldn't let me. Obviously, if he plays here, then I can take this pawn. So he played here, so I can't. And then I played here and here. So I took the pawn in the best way because now his other pawns are hanging. And now the engine says I'm +3, which is good. Good. Again, we both had probably a minute here. Right. And I didn't know which move was better, but I knew which move was safer. The engine actually says my move is better. So anyway, I mean, king f4, my f2 pawn's weak. Now my f2 pawn's not weak. So, all right. And, well, here I'm just going to win. He could resign here, but he played on. I don't blame him the way I played. Man. Let's see. Rook e8, rook e5. Give me the other pawn. He's like, no, you can have the other pawn. I was like, damn. And whenever I have this pawn structure with this, and I'm a pawn or two up, obviously I think of the game Ponomaryov-Carlsen, where it was 4 against 4 and Magnus won. Ponomarev had a pawn structure like this. Eventually g4 was played, they traded. h5 was played, they traded. And somehow Magnus won both those pawns. It was a draw even when Ponomarev was worse, but it was all zeros when they started. It was a rapid game, I think. But whenever I see this, and again, in 2012, in Minnesota, Labor Day weekend, in the last round, I think his name's Wasilek. He's 2,300. I had this ending, and my opponent, I think my opponent had this pawn, and I had the pawn here. And it was like the Magnus game, except, I'm up a pawn instead of equal, so I won. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I have these positions a lot. King g3. Man, my score is hard to read. Rook f5. I didn't get the end of the game either. I missed like the last 4 moves. I'm trying to trade rooks like rook e6, rook f6 check. But he knew that. And again, if rook here, then check. Man, it's hard to move here. Yeah, the engine says I'm +60. Damn. Yeah, so he played here. But okay, it doesn't matter what he does. Rook a6. Rook a3. And I don't think, did I write? No, I didn't write any more. But I do remember I played king g5. Yeah, I played king g5, king h6. And then I played rook over. Then he checked me here, checked me here, and he resigned. So I don't know what happened, but I can make up what happened. I'll just make it up. This is all made up. I don't know if this. I played rook c7. I didn't want to get too close to his rook. I don't want to play rook b7. Too close. This might be the game. It might be. It's possible. And then he resigned. That might have happened, but pretty sure this was. And also, it's possible he resigned here instead of playing rook g1 check. But I think he played rook g1 check. Anyway, I only got to move 60, and then I had like 10 seconds left. So yeah, this definitely happened. I don't know what happened here, but the game went like 3 more moves.